Good morning. In my last class, I have already discussed about two kingdom classification, three kingdom classification, and four kingdom classification. Remind them Gordoji, two kingdom classification was proposed by Carolus Linnaeus. Three kingdom classification was proposed by Ernst Haeckel. Four kingdom classification was proposed by Copeland. Then let us discuss in my today class five kingdoms classification of living organisms which was proposed by R. H. Whittaker in the year 1969. Five kingdom classification proposed by R. H. Whittaker in the year 1969. Here a question may arise, basing on which criteria Whittaker classified the living organisms? The answer is, criteria of five kingdom classification of living organism is body organization, cell structure, mode of nutrition, and cell structure. Whittaker classified all the living organisms into five different kingdoms. He classified the living organisms considering these characters. He considered following criteria for his classification system. He considered body organization of living organisms. He placed unicellular organisms in separate kingdom, multicellular organisms in separate kingdom. He considered body organization, means unicellular and multicellular organisms are placed in his classification system in separate kingdoms. He considered cell structure of organisms. Cells are of two different types. Cells of organisms are of two different types, prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell. So he separated prokaryotes from eukaryotes. He placed prokaryotes in separate kingdom, eukaryotes in separate kingdom. He further considered the mode of nutrition of organisms. Nutrition means feeding process. Mode of food obtaining process or food preparing process is called nutrition. On the basis of nutrition, organisms are of different types. Some are autotrophs, some are heterotrophs. The heterotrophic organisms are either maybe consumer or decomposer and so on. So Whittaker in his classification system considered the mode of nutrition of organisms and last phylogeny, means evolutionary trends. Phylogeny means evolutionary trends of living organisms. Repeat করছি দেখো, Whittaker, R. H. Whittaker classified all the living organisms of a world into five different kingdoms. तो तुम प्रश्न करि पारो केउ क्राइटेरिया अनुसार मीन्स केउ आधार रे केउ कैरेक्टर को कंसीडर करके Whittaker लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म को ग्रुपिंग कले. तो दीज आर डिफरेंट क्राइटेरिया अपॉन व्हिच दिस क्लासिफिकेशन सिस्टम इज बेस्ड. एई सब क्राइटेरिया अनुसार Whittaker लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म रो क्लासिफिकेशन करछथि. যথা Whittaker লিভিং অর্গানিজমর বডি অর্গানাইজেশন বা শরীর সংগঠনকে লক্ষ্য করছেন. সে ইউনিসেলুলার অর্গানিজমকু এবং মল্টিসেলুলার অর্গানিজমকু সেপারেট কিংডম রখিছেন. তারপরে অর্গানিজম মানকর সেল স্ট্রকচর মিন্স প্রোকারিওটিক প্রোকারিওটিক সেল থিবা অর্গানিজম বা প্রোকারিওটস আর ইউকারিওটস মানকু সে সেপারেট কিংডম রখিছেন. মুড অফ নিউট্রিশন কু কনসিডর করছেন. যে অটোট্রফ সেপারেট, যে কনজ্যুমর অলগা, যে ডিকম্পোজর অলগা. তো অর্গানিজম মানকর যে ফিডিং নেচর বা ফুড অবটেনিং প্রসেস কু সে কনসিডর করছেন তার ক্লাসিফিকেশন সিস্টম রে. তারপরে অর্গানিজম মানকর সে ইভোল্যুশনারি সিকোয়েন্স কু লক্ষ্য করছেন যে কেউ যে অর্গানিজম প্রিমিটিভ বা আদিম অর্গানিজম তাকে সেপারেট কিংডম রখিছেন, যে আডভান্সড অর্গানিজম তাকে সে সেপারেট কিংডম রখিছেন. তো ইয়ে হচ্ছে Whittakerଙ୍କର ক্লাসিফিকেশন ডিফরেন্ট ক্রাইটেরিয়া. দেন লেট us ডিসকাস the basic schemes of five kingdom classification. Listen me. R. H. Whittaker in his classification system placed all the living organisms into five different kingdoms. Such kingdoms are Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae and Animalia. Whitaker classified all the living organisms into 5 different kingdoms. Kingdom 1 Monera, 2 Protista, 3 Fungi, Plantae and Animalia. He placed all the unicellular prokaryotes such as bacteria, blue-green algae and mycoplasma in a separate kingdom, Monera. Mono means one. Monera means unicellular organism. So Whitaker in his classification system placed all unicellular prokaryotes को Whitaker गोटे सेपरेट किंगडम मोनेरा रे इंक्लूड करछंती. तुम मन रखिबो द टर्म मोनेरा वाज इंट्रोड्यूस्ड बाय नील एंड स्टेनर. नील एंड स्टेनर मोनेरा टर्म इंट्रोड्यूस करथिले. मोनेरा मींस यूनिसेलुलर ऑर्गेनिज्म. तो Whitaker placed all unicellular prokaryotes such as bacteria, blue-green algae or cyanobacteria and mycoplasma, which is otherwise known as PPLO, Pleuropneumonia-like organism, the smallest organism of the world, mycoplasma. It is otherwise known as Zucker of living world. तो mycoplasma, blue-green algae, bacteria एमाने सब प्रोकार्योटिक नेचर रो, एमाने यूनिसेलुलर प्रोकार्योट्स. तेणु एमान को रखा जाय किंगडम मोनेरा रे. Then next kingdom Protista. Whitaker placed all unicellular eukaryotes, EUKARYOTES, all unicellular eukaryotes in kingdom Protista. Example, Protozoa or Adi Prani, Amoeba, Paramecium, etc. Amoeba, Paramecium, Entamoeba, Plasmodium, malarial parasite, Giardia. The Protozoa or the unicellular animals are placed in kingdom Protista. All diatoms and desmids, these are golden brown colored algae. These are otherwise known as chrysophytes. Diatoms and desmids, marine algae, marine unicellular eukaryotic algae, they are also placed in kingdom Protista. Dinoflagellates, these are two flagella bearing organisms live in marine environment. These are also placed in kingdom Protista. Euglenoids, these are unicellular motile freshwater unicellular eukaryotic organisms. And slime molds. The slime molds, euglenoids, dinoflagellates, diatoms and desmids and protozoa. These are unicellular eukaryotic organisms. Some of them show animal characters. Some of them show plant characters. However, as they are unicellular and eukaryotic, so they are placed in the kingdom Protista. Kingdom Protista includes all unicellular eukaryotic organisms. जो organism मानकर सेल भितर ट्रू न्यूक्लियस अछि तामाने जो माने eukaryotic unicellular organism एक कोशी जीव जार ट्रू न्यूक्लियस अछि तामाने जे eukaryotic से unicellular eukaryotes मान रखा जाय किंगडम Protista रे. Protista kingdom रो मेंबर गुडी कहले Protozoa बा आदि प्राणी, diatoms and desmids, dinoflagellates, euglenoids and slime molds. एमान सब हेले unicellular eukaryotic organisms and they are placed in the kingdom Protista. Then kingdom Fungi. Fungi are otherwise known as multicellular decomposers. Fungi or koboko or molds, fimpi. Fungi are otherwise known as multicellular decomposers. Multicellular decomposers. Fungi, multicellular decomposers. The fungi are multicellular, except yeast, all fungi are multicellular. Fungi are otherwise known as chottu, mushroom, or fimpi, molds, mycetes. So fungi in Udia koboko are multicellular, non-chlorophyllous, eukaryotic organisms. Majority of fungi live in dead remains or dead and decaying materials. That means they are saprophytes or mutopogyipi and decompose the dead remains of living organism into simpler form. So they are called multicellular decomposers. Decomposers means the apoghataka, the organisms which decompose dead remains of living organism into simpler form, which decompose the dead bodies into simpler form are called decomposers. Fungi are multicellular decomposers. Other decomposers are slime molds are also decomposers. Bacteria are also decomposers, but the fungi are known as multicellular decomposers. Fungi in RH Whitaker classification system placed in a separate kingdom, fungi. Fungi are placed in a separate kingdom, fungi. It is third kingdom of five kingdom classification. Then fourth kingdom, kingdom Plantae. Whitaker placed all multicellular eukaryotic chlorophyll bearing organisms in the kingdom Plantae. Whitaker placed all multicellular chlorophyll bearing organisms means autotrophic organisms means the organisms which can prepare their own organic food by the photosynthesis process, means the organisms which are producers, which can produce their own food by photosynthesis process, which possess chlorophyll pigments, placed in the kingdom Plantae. Plantae kingdom includes all green algae, all multicellular green algae, brown algae, red algae, then bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms and angiosperms. These are in Odia called abrutobiji. These are called nognobiji. These are called fern jatiya udvido. These are called neli jatiya udvido. These are algae or shiuli, green algae, brown algae, red algae. These are multicellular chlorophyll bearing organisms. That means they are autotrophic in nature, means they prepare their own food by photosynthesis process, means they produce their own foods. So these are otherwise known as multicellular producers. Plantae, kingdom Plantae is otherwise known as multicellular producers. As they produce their own food by photosynthesis process, so kingdom Plantae is otherwise known as multicellular producers. Kingdom of multicellular producers. Then all multicellular animals from sponges to mammals, placed in the kingdom Animalia. Kingdom Animalia includes all the animals. Animals are heterotrophic in nature. Animals for their food consume other organisms. So animals are otherwise known as multicellular consumers. Multicellular consumers. Kingdom Animalia is otherwise known as multicellular consumers. CONSUMERS. Plantae is otherwise known as kingdom of multicellular producers. Fungi is otherwise known as kingdom of multicellular decomposers. Protista includes unicellular eukaryotes. Monera includes unicellular prokaryotes. Animalia example, kingdom Animalia member manele all multicellular animals such as sponges, coelenterate, flatworm, roundworm, annelids, arthropod, mollusk, echinoderm, hemichordates, chordates, different type of chordates such as urochordates, cephalochordates, then jawless vertebrates, jaw-bearing vertebrates such as fishes, amphibia, reptilia, birds and mammals. All multicellular animals placed in the kingdom Animalia. So it is all about the basic schemes of 5 kingdom classifications. In my next class, I will discuss separately about different kingdoms. Continue. Sorry. So it is all about the 5 kingdoms classification of living organisms. Review korchu dekho. R.H. Whitaker, one of the eminent American taxonomist. He belonged to country America. R.H. Whitaker. He classified all the living organisms into 5 different kingdoms in the year 1969. Remember. Then the criteria of classification. Criteria means the specific characters upon which classification is based. से जो क्राइटेरिया अनुसार जो मेन कैरेक्टर अनुसार से लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म को क्लासिफाई करछंती सेउड गला ऑर्गेनिज्म मानकर बॉडी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, सेल स्ट्रक्चर, मोड ऑफ न्यूट्रिशन, फाइलोजेनी मींस इवोल्यूशनरी ट्रेंड TREND ट्रेंड्स ऑफ ऑर्गेनिज्म्स. Then Whitaker placed all the living organisms into 5 different kingdoms. Such kingdoms are kingdom Monera, kingdom Protista, kingdom Fungi, kingdom Plantae and kingdom Animalia. So Whitaker placed all the living organisms into 5 different kingdoms. Kingdom 1, Monera. The term Monera was introduced by Neil and Steiner. Then Protista. The term Protista was introduced by Ernst Haeckel. Then Fungi in Odia, Koboko, means mushroom, chottu, fimpi, molds. These are multicellular, plant-like organisms. They possess cell walls in their cells but have no chlorophyll pigments. They are heterotrophic eukaryotic organisms. They usually grow on dead bodies. They usually decompose the dead bodies into simpler form. That means they are decomposers in nature. Besides fungi, other decomposers are slime molds and bacteria. Okay, then Whitaker placed all the multicellular producers, means all the multicellular green plants all the multicellular chlorophyll bearing organisms in kingdom plantae. सब chlorophyll bearing organism को Whitaker plantae kingdom रखछन्ती सब heterotrophic organism जे locomotion करि पारନ୍ତି means जो animal मान को रखछन्ती से multicellular animal को रखछन्ती kingdom animalia रे सब multicellular animal from sponges to mammals को रखछन्ती animalia kingdom रे all multicellular plants such as green algae, brown algae, red algae, bryophyta, pteridophyta, gymnosperm, GYMNOSPERMS, angiosperms, ANGIOSPERMS. These are multicellular chlorophyll bearing organisms. They possess chlorophyll. एमानकर सबुज कणिका बा हरित कणिका अछि एमाने फोटोसिंथेसिस करि पारंती एमाने प्रोड्यूसर मींस फूड प्रोडक्शन करंती एमान रखा जाय किंगडम प्लांटी then fungi are plant like organisms but have no chlorophyll pigments. Fungi are eukaryotic. Fungi possess cell wall like plants but they are non-chlorophyllous organisms, so they are placed in a separate kingdom fungi. Example है yeast or Saccharomyces, agaricus means mushroom, kutachotu, and penicillium. Penicillium, दूध penicillin antibiotic बाहर ची, नहीं जा भितरू नहीं जा, ए सिलिंडर टा टोना ना कोटर क्यों? ठीक है ब्रेक दियो, हाँ चलता है। तो आपको सब लेखा समझते आउ केतरा इंपोर्टेंट पॉइंट को जे क्लासिफिकेशन विषय रे देखो इन 5 किंगडम क्लासिफिकेशन सिस्टम इन 5 किंगडम क्लासिफिकेशन all prokaryotes bacteria blue green algae mycoplasma placed in the kingdom monera all prokaryotes belong to kingdom monera all eukaryotes belongs to kingdom monera रे सब prokaryotes रखा जायछि the kingdom protista member eukaryotes fungi member eukaryotes plants are eukaryotes animals are eukaryotes त माने देखो monera kingdom member को बाद देले आ सबुडा को eukaryotes तो all eukaryotes placed in the kingdom protista fungi plantae animalia out of 5 kingdoms eukaryotes placed in 4 kingdoms prokaryotes placed in the kingdom monera मन रखि दियो समझते 5 kingdom classification रे केवल prokaryotic organism को रखा जाय kingdom monera रे then our rest जो 4 kingdoms so all 4 kingdoms include eukaryotic organisms. Protista includes unicellular eukaryotes, fungi includes all multicellular eukaryotic decomposers, plantae includes all the eukaryotic plants, animalia includes all the eukaryotic animals. ता माने eukaryotes placed in 4 kingdoms: protista, fungi, plantae, animalia. Then decomposers belong to kingdom monera. Bacteria decomposer. D mention करते decomposer भाई एपटे slime molds decomposer एपटे fungi decomposers तो decomposers placed in the kingdom monera protista and fungi then algae the simpler undifferentiated chlorophyll bearing organisms are called algae or soibalo algae are chlorophyll bearing plant like organisms but they have undifferentiated body तो algae among algae prokaryotic algae, blue green algae placed in kingdom monera. Blue green algae or cyanobacteria placed in kingdom monera. Diatoms and desmids. These are golden brown color algae. Golden brown color algae. Golden brown algae placed in kingdom protista and green algae, brown algae, red algae placed in kingdom plantae. That means algae belong to kingdom monera, protista and plantae. So it is all about 5 kingdom classification system. Then let us discuss the merits and demerits of 5 kingdom classification. समस्त एग्जांपल को भल भाव मन रखिबो किंगडम मोनेरा मेंबर माने हेले बैक्टीरिया ब्लू ग्रीन algae are a group of prokaryotic chlorophyll bearing organisms. They are the common examples of blue green algae are nostoc, anaboina, oscillatoria, spirulina, etc. So all bacteria, all blue green algae, all mycoplasmas placed in the kingdom monera. Mycoplasma is the smallest living organism of the world, smallest unicellular organism of the world. It is otherwise known as PPLO. PPLO, pleuropneumonia like organism. So kingdom monera एमाने member. Kingdom protista member हेले protozoa, diatoms and desmids, dinoflagellates, euglenoids and slime molds. All unicellular eukaryotes placed in the kingdom protista. All multicellular fungi belong to kingdom fungi. Fungi are non-chlorophyllous. Means fungi are heterotrophic, eukaryotic, cell wall bearing organisms. एग्जांपल ईस्ट ईस्टटा यूनिसेलुलर फंजी ईस्ट आगारिकस बा कुटा छतु ए जो मशरूम मान खाउछे देन पेनिसिलियम आस्परजिलस पेरेनोस्पोरा etc belong to kingdom fungi all multicellular plants belong to kingdom plantae all animals belong to kingdom animalia okay it is all about 5 kingdom classification then let us discuss merits and demerits of classification तम prescribed book बा reference book रे merits demerits देइजी मु नोट पठला बेले तुमको मेरिट्स डिमेरिट डिटेल लिखि देबी एबे खाली तुम बुझो जे 5 किंगडम क्लासिफिकेशन लो मेरिट मान तार उपकारिता तार प्लस पॉइंट हला मेरिट हला जे प्रोकार्यो इन दिस क्लासिफिकेशन सिस्टम प्रोकार्योट्स बिलोंग टू सेपरेट किंगडम मोनेरा आउ मेरिट हला फंजी प्लेज इन सेपरेट किंगडम फंजी देन इट इज ए परफेक्ट नेचुरल क्लासिफिकेशन सिस्टम मींस इट इज बेस्ड ऑन सो मेनी कैरेक्टर्स इट इज ए परफेक्ट नेचुरल क्लासिफिकेशन सिस्टम तो whole world this 5 kingdom classification was accepted by whole world a classification system को accept करछि एला merit demerit कोन members of protista so variation in their mode of nutrition protista member मानकर mode of nutrition feeding process varied type रो प्रोटोजुआ भितर किछि छथि पैरासाइट किछि छथि आम परिका होलोजोइक न्यूट्रिशन करंती डायटम्स गुड को ऑटोट्रॉप डिनोफ्लाजेलेट ऑटोट्रॉप यूग्लिनेट किछि ऑटोट्रॉप अछंती किछि साप्रोफाइट अछंती ता माने किंगडम प्रोटिस्टार मेंबर मानकर मूड ऑफ न्यूट्रिशन वेरी टाइप रो तां किन से रखछन गुटिया किंगडम रे एटा डिमेरिट देन आल्जी गुटे ग्रुप रो प्लांट आल्जी किंतु हुइटा के तां क्लासिफिकेशन सिस्टम रे ब्लू ग्रीन आल्जी को सेपरेट किंगडम मोनेरा रखछंती डायटम्स एंड डेस्मिट एमन आल्जी गोल्डन ब्राउन कलर आल्जी आंको सेपरेट किंगडम प्रोटिस्टा रे रखछंती आल्जी गुटिया ग्रुप रो मेंबर तांको तो 3 डिफरेंट किंगडम्स रे रखा जायछि तो ये होजी 5 किंगडम क्लासिफिकेशन मेरिट डिमेरिट आको भलो भाव लिखि नियो आर डिटेल्स नोट तुमको मु दिन पठे दैट्स ऑल